Welcome to Nutnfancy's review of the Pikachu knife. Yeah, I know it's not called Pikachu, but it kind of sounds like it. Pika II by Benchmade, in my opinion, is the Pikachu knife. Same thing. You probably saw that slide earlier in another one of my videos. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy as I clip this back in. There we go. This is a high value EDC blade. The Pika II. Yeah, I'm just going to call it the Pikachu. That sounds about right. I'm not super fond of this knife, to be honest with you. I'm really disappointed in it. How come? What's wrong with the knife? Well, I'll get to that. Let's talk about, first off, the category I'm going to put this in. This would be a lightweight emergency tactical design, one you could actually defend your life with if you had to. The blade's long enough, 3.5 inches. And it would be an EDC knife, an everyday carry utility knife. I think it would serve very nicely in that role as well. I know you guys want to know, what does he not like about the Pikachu knife? First off, I'll just get that. Let's get that out of the way. The thing I don't like about it is it does not deploy easily. Now, you saw how that Tenacious cut me. It's healing up, by the way. Because it deploys too easily. Now, granted, it was not in the pocket, therefore I do not level a criticism against Tenacious. It did not open on me in the pocket. It opened on me in a gun fanny pack, and it was oriented upside down and being jostled, and the blade did not retain too well, came undone. Forgot the knife was in there, actually, and then I reached in to grab something. It cut me. So the Tenacious doesn't retain enough. That is a mild criticism I'll level against the design. What do I mean by retain? How hard is it to pull the blade out? There is a happy medium in that. And the Pinkachu knife kind of lost that. It's too hard to get out. The spring tension and the detent are too much for it to deploy. And that gets to deployment speed. It's hard to get out. At least this model that I have, and I suspect they're all that way. They deploy slowly. It takes a lot of thumb tension and good wrist technique to get the Pinkachu knife out. I have issues with that. It's too much. And I'll show you a competitor that got it right, but I'm going to finish first talking about the specifics of the knife. So that is a big criticism I have of the Pika II Pinkachu knife. It just comes out too slowly. I don't like that. They should have lightened the spring up just a little bit. Do whatever they need to make it come out fast. Now, the lockup on the Pinkachu knife is also a criticism I have. There is some movement. Hear that? Up and down. How about side to side? A little bit side to side too. And I've played with that pivot screw trying to eliminate it. Didn't help too much. This is a perfect example how Nutnfancy is not brand myopic. What do I mean by that? In other words, I am not just for one brand, nor do I put a halo over any brand, including Benchmade, thinking that they can do no wrong. I think they did wrong with the Pinkachu. Whatever the name is. Pinkachu. I like that name too, Pinkachu. I think I'll just call it the Pinkachu. I mean, that's jacked up. It should be a tighter lockup. And I'll show you again a competitor that got it right. Now the steel and the blade shape I like. The blade shape is fine. I would, as always, prefer a full flat ground blade, kind of like the Spyderco Dragonfly. I just happen to have this here from another review. But I'd always prefer a full flat grind, just like this blade. As opposed to this, see, they start the grind about mid, way down, then they hollow grind it out. I don't have issues with it. I mean, that's fine. This is a modified kind of clip blade design. It's good looking for sure, but there's a lot of other designs I'd prefer over it. The steel is 9 CR13 Chrome UV. It's kind of like OS 8. Very similar to what the Byrd models are using, the 8 CR13 MOV. That's very similar. I think it's a high value stainless steel. I think it'll hold an edge adequately, resist rust adequately for a high value knife. And this is a high value knife. Even despite my criticisms, it's only around $25. So most of you guys, I mean, take that into consideration if you decide for or against a Pika II knife. I mean, $25. So keep that in mind as I go along here. But I think the steel is adequate. As it comes out of the box, by the way, The Pika II, I know that's not the name, so it's funny, is dull. It's not a sharp knife. See how I'm running my, this is just the factory edge. It's a horrible edge coming out of the box. Bad job on that. They do have the Benchmade logo there, that's cool. And unsharpened swedge on the top. Good looking. I think it'd be good for both thrust cutting and slashing, i.e. draw cuts, once you put an edge on it, and it totally needs an edge. And the blade is a ripoff on the Spyderco design. Truth be told, it's got the deployment hole. Very much a Spyderco design. Sometimes Benchmade does do that. I realize that. I don't mind deployment holes, by the way. Choosing between a thumb stud and a deployment hole, I have a real hard time, at least nowadays, choosing. I think that if they're executed properly, they're fine. So, talked about the deployment speed, slow, and the blade. Steel's adequate, edge sucks, shape is fine, like that. How's the handle on this? It's interesting. It's kind of a spider web design. Kind of like, I don't know, Spyderco? Don't know. Interesting. Is it functional though? Does it add traction? The molded in pattern? Yeah, a little bit. Not a heck of a lot though, to be honest with you. You can take the handle apart with torque screws. Good thing too, because it has nested steel liners in there. Drilled out, thankfully. Good job on that at least. Benchmade. You can see the holes down there. That's because if you get salt water behind those, you better take your knife apart, otherwise they will rust. Try to avoid salt water with a knife like this. Also, here's another criticism I have of the design. See this lockback design? And I don't have a problem with lockbacks. They're nice. They're strong. Some will say stronger than a liner lock. I understand that. See how that's raised right there? That's poor workmanship. So as I run my finger down, I run right into the lock. That should be mounted flush. And I tell you about the David Boyd detent and Spyderco designs, how it's pretty much worthless. See the notch there? It's kind of worthless. But the nice thing is it cuts off a little bit of this metal. So you can see if we scalloped that lock right there, we'd have just a little bit less metal to carry around with no loss in function or strength. Spyderco design wins there. So the handle, it's okay. I'd be concerned about it getting packed full of all kinds of gunk, because these are all indented holes here. So if I drop this in the mud, I might have to blast my knife out and clean it with a toothbrush later. Now, at first glance, looking at the top spine of the knife, it looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Got all that jimping right along there. Another criticism, it's not very functional. That's because it's not sharp. I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess, and it's a good idea, except they should have made it like, how you doing, Spyderco jimping, where it's very sharp and purposeful. So, better than nothing, but my hand slides on it. On that thumb ramp, too, it's a very gradual thumb ramp. It'd be really nice to have that during a thrust cut to make sure your thumb digs into there. Finger guard area, it's got some aesthetic jimping only on the FRN handle. Wah, wah, doesn't do much. None of it does. It's just aesthetic. The clip is excellent. I love the clip. See how it's like bent over? And that makes it ride deeper into your pocket. I dig that. I think the clip on the Pinkachu knife is very nicely done. Except, again, and this is a broken record of criticism I have of a lot of knives, they didn't go far enough on the handle. Had they mounted it here and maybe relocate your lanyard hole down here somewhere, mounting your clip here, now we're in business. Now this knife will bury into your pocket and you won't have to worry about bumping it out and losing it. I don't think you give up anything in deployment speed either with a high mounted pocket clip, low pocket ride. There's some more aesthetic jimping on this side. Could we use this as an impact device? Yeah, sure we could. And again, reverse that when you do that, because that way this portion here follows the curvature of your thumb. You don't want to do it like that. That is not how it's going to situate in most human hands. Unless you're an alien, it's going to fit you better like that. That's a great impact device. So, in that pointed tip, ouch, that would really hurt. So, overall, I'm not a super fan of the Pinkachu knife. It's got some issues, like I talked about. And don't say that, well, you know, for the money, there's no better. Well, really, let's let the competitor roll in here, the Spyderco Byrd model. This is a knife that pretty much gets everything I just criticized the Pinkachu over right. First off, let's talk about deployment speed and blade retention. The blade retention on the Spyderco Byrd is perfect. Not too much, not too little. It won't shake out, you know, kind of like the Tenacious. It won't, and yet it comes out fast. Perfect. They should have spent more time on the Pinkachu knife getting that down. And Benchmade, I know you watch these reviews, spend more time on it. Get your subsequent models squared away, because this is your competition, and they got it right. Lockup on the Byrd is tight. There's no wiggle left and right, unlike the Pinkachu knife. Comes razor sharp out of the, not razor, but sharper out of the box. I actually just use this one in the wood, so it's a little bit down on the sharpness factor. And the jimping on the Byrd is very purposeful, even though it doesn't have an entire run of it, and yeah, that's just aesthetic there. But here on the thumb ramp, it works better. Maybe not quite as sharp as the regular Spyderco or finely machined. And then in the finger choil area, we got functional jimping down there too, so we can really lock up on the Byrd. And you can see the lock is done right. There's no raised lock like there is in the Pinkachu model, with less metal to carry around. And the Pinkachu is just a little bit heavier than the Byrd too. They're both about 3.8 ounces. I think this one's 3.9, this one's 3.8. So, which knife would I prefer over these two if I were spending my hard-earned money? This one, the Byrd Cara Cara. Hands down. It's a better knife, at least the model I got. And yeah, I got that tricked out first production run. I guess I'll just keep it for that, whatever that's worth. Not much. But not a horrible blade. They just have a few issues with it. And of course, like I said, the Cara Cara is a better design. The pocket clip actually on the Benchmade will beat the Cara Cara. It's blackened and it's lighter weight. See how it's skeletonized there? And I always like blackened clips, and I really like the fold over design of the Benchmade Pikachu knife. I wish the Cara Cara had it. But in all other respects, the Cara Cara blows it away. So there you have it. Nutnfancy slam on the Pinkachu knife. It is a very high value knife, and I don't think any of the criticisms I've leveled against it make it a horrible knife. It's just that they have better knives out there for about the same price, actually less. This Cara Cara is actually even cheaper than this knife. So in my opinion, it's probably a better design. Which of the two do I like better visually? I'd probably say the Pinkachu. I like that blade style and just the look of it a little bit better than the funky, you know, bird's eye hole there. But I think this is a better knife. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the good ratings, for the subscriptions. I appreciate it. That's what keeps me going. More adventures coming, but these tabletop reviews, as always, will formulate the basis of the Nutnfancy project. Nutnfancy, see ya.